Yo, what's up, dude? What is up? Well, it must be Monday, because we are back with a new guitar of the week. Some of you may have seen this. This is the Kramer. I guess it's not a Beretta because the pickup isn't slanted. I think they call this the 1984. It's part of the graphic series. This is the Illusionist, as you can see right here. This amazing graphic. These have been out for a while. They switch up the graphics on these every once in a while. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check out the latest graphics. These are pretty much straight out of the It's really a mashup between the 1984 Kramer Beretta and the 1985 / some 86 Klein custom paint series by Kramer. So in 84 they come out with the Beretta. It's a one pickup. It's a slanted pickup, I'm pretty sure, and it's got the offset like big hockey stick headstock, and these are very popular guitars. In fact, Kramer switched up so quickly. They were such a moving target, like all the time, that it was so fleeting. Anytime they put a guitar out, that they become collectible. And so, like, that 1984 became like the so-called holy grail of Kramer's. With the offset neck instead of the tilt back neck, instead of the point at the end, it had the hockey stick headstock. It just depended on the year, what you got. So 82 was a different headstock. 83 I think was a different headstock. 84 this headstock comes out. By 85 they still have the headstock, but they've changed the logo a little bit, more blocky, and it starts to tilt back instead of be offset like a Strat. And then by 86, they go to the sharp point, and pretty much by 86, ESP is making almost everything in there being painted and assembled in the U.S. So, Kramer never really made their bodies or necks. They always bought them, right? Who were the companies? Sports, Lucido. There was a bunch of different companies that made the bodies and the necks for Kramer. And they would paint them, and they'd stick the logos on them, and then assemble them in the U.S. Towards the end, there was so little, they started calling it Kramer American, but it never said Made in America on it, and they didn't want any trouble. And on the back, it would just have their address, which was a trick that a lot of companies were doing back then. They would list an American address on their back plate, and they're like, "Oh, is it made in the U.S.?" And they're like, "I don't know, is it?" Well, I'm asking you. And they're like, "Yeah." What do you need to hear? Sure. Well, something's in the U.S. Their address is in the U.S. It's like, okay. They would play coy with all of that. Charvel did that. They put a Texas address on the back. Well, they were made in Japan. These had a New Jersey address on the back. They were primarily made in Japan, right? As I've always said, all the best guitars are made in Japan. So, American manufacturers by 1980 figured it out. If you wanted decent parts, you got them out of Japan and Germany. You just assembled that stuff in America and said, sure, yeah, it's made in America. Sure. Is that what you need to hear? Obviously, this is a reissue. Kramer sort of folded in 89, maybe 90 at the latest. They sort of bounced around for a while. And eventually they were bought by Gibson Brands, who still owns them to this day. And still putting out stuff, still putting out brand new guitars. And this is one of them. This is one of their latest ones, the Illusionist. Alder body, maple neck, total 80s vibes. Particularly sort of like these graphics just really remind me of going to like Daddy's Junkie Music on Mass Ave, across from Berkeley. And when you walked in behind the counter, they would keep all the really expensive guitars, Jackson and Charvel. And you would see like a Charvel that was, just some custom paint job, single pickup in a custom paint job. And it would be like $1,800. There'd be a Jackson, it'd be like $2,500. And trust me, in 1983, 1984, 1985, that's a lot of money for a guitar. That is a lot of money for a guitar in those days. And, you could buy a Les Paul for half that. So you're like, huh. But, these were it. Les Paul was decidedly very out of style at the time. In 1983, Les Paul was completely out of style. 83, 84, 85. They were yesterday's news. They're your old 70s guitar. It's the 80s now, man. It's all Super Strats. And, this has the Floyd Rose 1000. So it's metallurgically the same as the German one. But they save a lot of money as long as these aren't sold at retail. They're OEM only. But they needed a low-cost way to get, so they didn't have to buy them all from Schaller for the OEMs. So they have an agreement with Schaller to be the provider for the, the retail versions. So OEM. They went to Korea, and, if you somehow think longitude and latitude makes metal formulate differently, make your best case. But as far as I have heard, metallurgically identical in every way. And it's just a longitude and latitude of assembly and, in machining. But, for some people that means something, apparently. For me, it just means like you're tacking on hundreds of dollars. So I'll take the cheaper one whenever possible, because why not? Let me show you the back. Yeah, a pretty simple guitar. Not a lot of bells and whistles. The one thing that they do provide, despite having a very minimalistic front with just a single volume knob and a single pickup, is the pickup knob pulls out. And when you do that, you send the pickup from series to parallel. And parallel is just, it's a little softer. This is blue steel. And that's La Tigra. Right? And you'll hear it more when we go to a clean sound. But these are, workhorse guitars, pretty much, maple and alder, and, that's about it. It's got 80s vibes all day, though. And when they first, showed this graphic, I was just so enthralled with it. I was like, wow, that really does. Of all the graphics I've seen, the Illusionist one really harkens back to those 80s years. You would have some, crazy design, and, it's sort of, and of course it's almost, it's not quite a bullseye. It's not quite, right. So it's just sort of a mashup of so many different, you'd get guitars that would have stripes and circles and all kinds of stuff. Zakk Wylde tried to do a thing with the bullseyes, and everybody was, right, someone has polka dots, someone has bullseyes, right, and was tiger print, leopard print, zebra print. Everyone was trying to, find a good fashion coordination for all their body and maple neck. And, this was decidedly, I would call this 84 to 85-ish, standard Super Strat. And they're using a JB, which is a pretty standard pickup. And what Kramer used back then, they were using the JB. They'd use the JB and the Jazz, or they'd use the JB and I believe the vintage Staggered, if they were doing a single double, like on the Pacer Deluxe versus like the Pacer Imperial. So pretty cool. Anyway, we're not going to do a lot of pickup selecting, but that is the humbucker, and then here's the humbucker in parallel mode. A little bit lighter versus a little bit louder on the. You'll hear it more, I think, on the clean tone. So here's. There's the big drop off. There's not a huge difference because you're still running both coils. But it's there. I hear it. Especially like it definitely loses bass, which you would expect when you move from serial to parallel. Right there it is, parallel. I mean, serial. Here it is, parallel. It gives you a good idea. Yeah. And of course we have our behave lead. Here it is in the parallel. It's really like how much energy goes out. So I could probably bring that input. I wouldn't want to go much heavier than that. Maybe. Yeah, not a huge difference, but yeah, you can kind of hear it there, you know. Yeah. Dual heavy rig? Of course. let's go back to where we started. Right there. Yeah. Oh, and before I forget, it does come with a pretty cool bag. A very thick padded Kramer bag. Right there. With the pouch and the backpack carrier and the whole 9 yards. Yeah. No, that's nice. It's nice. There you have it. The Kramer graphics collection Illusionist is the guitar of the week. And of course, as always, there will be a link in the description for more specs and pricing. And there you go. There you are. Yeah, one of my favorite guitars that I own. And, I can't say enough about generally Kramer. It was pretty much the brand I played through most of the 80s. And until Ibanez came along. And then I was all in on Ibanez. But for a few years there, I was all in on Kramer. And I still have a soft spot for the brand. Many songs learned on a Kramer guitar. So, and it was pretty simple. They had a new technology that nobody else had, which was the Floyd Rose system. They were the exclusive. Really wasn't until about 87, 88 that you started to see competitors using licensed by Floyd Rose. But the one thing you could do was knock every single string and go back in tune. There was nothing like that back then. And you couldn't even get that kind of dive bomb, because the reason why the strings literally fall off is because they're clamped here and here. So as you reduce the tension, this tension up here doesn't pull it back and keep the string tight. You can almost never get that level of slack from anything but a Floyd Rose. That was the big dig against Kaler at the time. Kaler was more like a Bigsby, like a much more slight, tremolo effect. It's really a vibrato effect, but look, terms are out there. We've chosen terms, and those are the ones we're sticking with. But it really is a change in pitch, not amplitude. Anyway, the Kramer Illusionist. What a killer guitar. As always, links in description for more information. Thanks so much for hanging out, and rock on.